this was her wish that I do this, so it is an honor. A true testament to my Aunt Marley is she wanted to make sure the reflections were wrapped up with her words, which unfortunately she was not able to totally communicate exactly what she wanted, but I've got enough of an audio message to just make this very short and sweet, because we apparently do have to get out of here at noon, and my grandma really may kick everyone out. She did want everyone to be aware of, or just to let everyone know that how much she loved her parents. My grandma and just how appreciative she was of their support. And she wanted to wrap that up with everything that had been said about her, to just bring it back to her favorite people. So Grandma, that is me passing this message along to you from Aunt Marley. She loved you very much. And you and Patty were her favorite people in the world. And thanks God every day that you were her parents. And she made a point in her message to say how thankful she was. They were not perfect, but she was thankful and blessed.
Today I'd like to draw your attention to a story of someone else who is dear to Jesus. And that person was Lazarus in John chapter 11. There was a certain man who was ill, Lazarus of Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. It was the Mary who anointed the Lord with ointment and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was ill. So the sister sent to him, saying, Lord, he whom you love is ill. But when Jesus heard it, he said, This illness does not lead to death, it is for the glory of God, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it. As we read through this story, we discover here in the verses following that the story really isn't about Lazarus any more than today is about Mother. It's really about Jesus and how we will respond to him. This illness does not lead to death. It is for the glory of God, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it. Now, the glorification of Jesus is an important concept that we find here in John's Gospel. And this idea of the glorification of Jesus includes his suffering, his death, his resurrection, and his ascension into the very presence of God. Seeing the glory of God requires a choice. How will we respond to it? Notice how the disciples respond. Now, Jesus loved Mary and Martha. But when he heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed where he was for 2 more days. And then he said to his disciples, "Let's go again to Judea." And the disciples said to him, "Rabbi, the Jews were just seeking to stone you. Are you going there again?" And Jesus answered, "Are there not 12 hours in the day? If anyone walks in the day, he does not stumble because he sees the light of this world. But if anyone walks in the night, he stumbles because the light is not in him." And after saying these things, he said to them, "Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep. I go to awaken him." And the disciples said to him, "Lord, if he has fallen asleep, you will recover him." Now Jesus had spoken of his death, so they thought he meant taking rest and sleep. And Jesus told them plainly, "Lazarus has died. And for your sake, I'm glad that I'm not there, so that you may believe. Let us go to him." And so Thomas called the twins, said to the fellow disciples, "Let us go also, that we may dine with him." Jesus, are you serious? You want to go there again? I mean, they were just about to stone you. "I need to wake up Lazarus." And it's a good thing we're not there, so that you can believe. And you know what those disciples did? They followed Jesus there, even at the threat of their own lives. And when he gets to Bethany, they find that Lazarus had been already buried 4 days. I mean, this is the beyond the shadow of death kind of death. He's gone. No longer living. And Martha meets him outside the city. And says to him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now, I know that you do whatever you ask from God. God will give you." And Jesus said to her, "Your brother will rise again." And Martha said to him, "I know that you will rise again in the resurrection of the last day." And Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet he shall he live. And everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this?" And she said to him, "Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is coming into the world. If you had been here, my brother would not have died." When tragedy strikes, that sometimes is our question is, "God, where are you?" And Merle certainly had that opportunity to ask that question. And yet, we see here in Martha's conversation with Jesus a trust in him. And he declares to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live. And everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this?" And she responds by saying, "Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is coming into the world." One of the strongest statements of belief we find in these New Testament passages. Then we come to Mary. Mary is told by Martha that Jesus is seeking her, and so Mary runs out to meet with him. Jesus had not yet come into the village, was still at the place where Martha had met him. And when the Jews who were in the house consoling her saw Mary rise quickly and go out, they followed her, supposing that she was going to the tomb to weep there. But when Mary came to where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet, saying to him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in his spirit and greatly troubled. And he said, "Where have you laid him?" And they said to him, "Lord, come and see." Jesus wept. And so the Jews said, "See how he loved him." But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man also kept this man from dying?" You know, it's interesting that Mary, the one who washed Jesus' feet, in utter devotion, didn't come out to meet Jesus. She was disappointed. Jesus hadn't showed up. I mean, she sent a message. The one you love is ill. She was overcome with grief to the point that a resurrection of her brother was even difficult to anticipate. And we see in this passage that Jesus was deeply moved. Twice it's mentioned. In fact, it can be translated from the Greek, he was indignant. He wept over the sorrow. He was indignant about death itself. He'd come to destroy death. And yet he wept over the sorrow and the hopelessness in those he loved. He was the resurrection and the life. This is why he came, to give eternal life to those who believe in him. And so he weeps over the despair that brings death, even to those he loves. Jesus comes to the tomb. And he says, "Take away the stone." Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, "Lord, by this time there will be an odor, for he has been dead 4 days." And Jesus said to her, "Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone, and Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this on the account of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me." And when he had said these things, he cried out with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." And the man who had died came out, his hands and his feet bound with linen strips, his face wrapped with a cloth. And Jesus said to them, "Unbind him and let him go." Didn't I tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God? After the stone was removed, Jesus thanks God for hearing his prayer and commands Lazarus to come out. And he did. And after the resurrection of Lazarus, people went and told the religious leaders about what was going on. I mean, there was an escalation here of Jesus' miracles. He cast out demons, he healed the sick, he healed a man born blind, he raised a man who had been dead for 4 years. And many who saw this miracle believed in Jesus and report to the religious leaders. And so they decide that they need to get rid of Jesus and Lazarus as well. They refused to believe that Jesus was the Christ, even with the resurrected Lazarus there. In fact, they decided that Lazarus should also die. And so it's no surprise that they denied the resurrection of Jesus Christ himself. So how do we respond to Jesus as the resurrection and the life? Jesus said very clearly, "I am the resurrection and the life." In his resurrection, Jesus proves who he is. He lives in us and we participate in his resurrection and life. Our lives and our testimony bear witness to a lost and dying world that Jesus is the source and the resurrection of life. The reality of Jesus is the key to our faith. The reality of his resurrection is the key to our faith. The consequence of sin in the Garden of Eden is undone by that resurrection. Lazarus was raised from the dead, but he would die again. Jesus was raised forever, never to face death again. He is our hope and our future. So how do we respond to Jesus? When he says to us, I am the resurrection and the life. You know, the disciples, they followed him, even if it meant death. And almost all of them did die for their faith. Like Martha, we acknowledge that Jesus is the Christ and trust him even when he seems absent or when things don't go the way we plan. Like Mary, we are to be extravagant with Jesus. She was the one who took an expensive bottle of perfume and washed his feet with her hair. He gives us eternal life, and we need to give ourselves to him in extravagant fashion. We will face moments when God doesn't answer our prayers, and Jesus doesn't seem to show up on time. And in those moments, we remember that he is the resurrection and life. Our faith and trust in him brings him glory. This illness is not easy. It is for the glory